Adrenal insufficiency is the kind of diagnosis that makes you realize how fragmented our healthcare system actually is. And the reason has nothing to do with bad doctors and everything to do with a hormone that refuses to stay in its lane.
That's exactly it. Cortisol isn't just a stress hormone, it's more like the Wi Fi signal for your entire body. When it drops, the signal goes weak in the gut, the heart, the brain, everywhere. But the system is built into silos. You have the endocrinologist for the hormone, the cardiologist for the blood pressure, the GI specialist for the stomach. It's like everyone is looking at a different room of the house while the foundation is sinking.
And you're the one standing in the living room watching the cracks form. We're looking at an article today by Rick Disler from the My Adrenal Life community, which, by the way, listeners can find in full on their Facebook group. It's titled, Why One Doctor Can't Manage Adrenal Insufficiency Alone. And Rick's point is basically that the patient ends up being the only person who sees the whole map.
It's a heavy role to inherit. You become the coordinator, not because you applied for the job, but because if you don't do it, the dots just don't get connected. Rick talks about this puzzle piece problem. Imagine 4 different experts, each holding one piece of a 1,000-piece puzzle. One sees the lab values, one sees the fatigue, one sees the digestive issues, but nobody is looking at the box top to see how they fit together.
It's exhausting, right? Having to repeat your entire medical history at every single appointment because the systems don't talk to each other. But I think what's really interesting here is the physiological why. Why does one hormone mess with so many systems?
Well, biologically, cortisol is foundational. It's involved in blood pressure regulation, immune response, energy metabolism, even how your brain processes information. So when you have adrenal insufficiency, you are just tired. Your blood pressure might crash when you stand up. Your blood sugar might dip unexpectedly. Your brain fog might make it hard to even explain these things to a doctor. It's a multi-system failure, but we try to treat it with a single specialty model.
So, if I go to a cardiologist because my blood pressure is bottoming out, they might just see a heart or vascular issue. They might not be thinking, wait, is this an adrenal signaling problem?
Exactly. And that's where the friction starts. You're in a specialist's office and you're trying to tell them about your stomach pain or your memory issues, and they, very politely, tell you that's not their department. But for someone with AI, it is all one department. It's all the same fire, just different rooms.
That has to be incredibly isolating. To feel like you're the only one who understands the logic of your own body.
It is. And Rick points out that this leads to patients taking on these invisible roles. You're the information holder, the pattern tracker, the communication bridge. You're essentially acting as a project manager for your own survival.
Wait, I'm not sure I'm totally on board with the idea that patients should have to do that. I mean, I hear what you're saying, but shouldn't the primary care doctor be the one holding the map? Isn't that their literal job description?
In a perfect world, yes. But in the current system, most primary care providers get maybe 15 minutes with you. Adrenal insufficiency is rare and incredibly complex. To really get the patterns, like how a minor cold on Tuesday leads to a blood pressure crash on Thursday, requires a level of granular day-to-day data that a doctor just doesn't have. You're the only one with the 24/7 feed.
So the coordinator role isn't just a burden. It's actually a necessity because of how the system is timed out.
Precisely. It's about recognizing that the system wasn't built for multi-system, chronic conditions like this. It was built for, I have a broken arm, fix the arm. When the arm is actually a systemic signaling error, the assembly line breaks down.
Rick suggests some ways to handle this, though. One of them is keeping a clear, simple summary. Not just the list of meds, but the type of AI, primary, secondary, or steroid-induced, and the specific patterns you've noticed. It's like giving the doctor a cheat sheet so they don't have to spend the whole 15 minutes just catching up.
And the way you phrase things matters, too. Instead of just listing symptoms, Rick mentions connecting the dots out loud. Say things like, these symptoms always happen together, or this changed when my medication timing changed. You're helping the doctor see the lines between the dots, not just the dots themselves.
It's shifting from being a reporter of symptoms to a partner in the logic. But honestly, even with that approach, don't you think people are still going to run into that wall where a specialist just refuses to look outside their box?
Oh, absolutely. And that's a real point of tension. You might have an endocrinologist who looks at a lab result and says, "You're fine," while you can barely get out of bed. Rick's advice there is actually really grounding. Expect differences in perspective. A specialist's view is limited by their lens. It doesn't mean they're wrong about the lab, but it also doesn't mean you're wrong about the symptoms. Both can be true at the same time.
That's a hard thing to sit with. To realize your doctor can be factually right about a test and yet completely wrong about your actual state of health.
It's a paradox. But once you accept that no single doctor can see the whole picture, it takes some of the personal sting out of it. It's not a failure of the person, it's a limit of the model. Rick talks about this gentle empowerment. You're allowed to notice patterns. You're allowed to ask why things aren't connecting. Your observations are actually the most valuable data point in the room.
I like that, turning the frustration of being the coordinator into something more intentional. It's acknowledging that you are the expert on the application of the science in your own life.
Right. The doctor knows the science. You know the body. It has to be a partnership. And for anyone listening who feels like they're drowning in all those moving pieces, the biggest takeaway from Rick Dissler's work is simply that you aren't doing it wrong. The complexity is real. The system is just smaller than your experience.
If you want to read the full breakdown and join the conversation, definitely check out the My Adrenal Life group on Facebook. It's a space where these pieces actually start coming together.
If this resonates with you, or if you know someone navigating that maze of specialists, please share this. It helps to know you're not the only one holding the map.